Guys, happy Thursday. We're here again. It's a little after 9 p.m. because this is not television and we have a very low budget, but we are going to figure it out. It's so nice to see you. It's been a really long day for me. I was up in Albany today talking about the future of how we empower our families across New York to live healthy and sustainable lives as part of the Schuyler Center. But now I'm home to be with you, and I hope you all had a really great day yourselves. I'm so pleased to be able to talk with Tom Abinanti tonight and really talk about how his long and history of advocating for people with disabilities and his current run for supervisor of the town of Mount Pleasant. Again, it's so wonderful to be able to speak with him. And today's also another kind of special day for me and my family. But first, hi. If I haven't met you yet, my name is Kevin McAvey. I am a father of three, a Bedford resident, born and raised New Yorker, a Democrat, a good government advocate, and a healthcare policy expert. I am also a husband as of today, 10 years. And all of what I do, I could not do without the woman in that photo, Amanda. She is the love of my life, and she puts up with a lot. And I am so thankful every day to have her in my life. And I thank her for even allowing me to do this on our anniversary. Happy anniversary. The purpose of this series, when we meet every Thursday or almost every Thursday, is really to equip New Yorkers living in the Lower Hudson Valley, New York 17. That's northern Westchester, Rockland County, Putnam County, southern Dutchess County, with information about the issues impacting our communities, helping us to identify how we can get involved and who we want to represent our concerns and values in government. We discuss the issues, we foster community, and we introduce you to many of the candidates you can consider through every election season to represent you, your friends and neighbors who are stepping up. And for each of them, I am thankful. We also have a primary in place. Beth Davidson, Kate Conley, Mike Sachs. Woo, Mike Sachs. Effie Phillips Staley, John Capello, all are wonderful and talented in their own ways. No matter what, we are going to unify as one team to make the change that we need come November. But over the course of the next 3 weeks, I'd encourage you to find your candidate. June 23rd, 2026 is the primary election day for registered Democrats in the district, less than 3 weeks away. And even sooner than that, early voting from June 13th to June 21st. For me, I'm going to be voting for Beth Davidson, but again, there are many highly qualified candidates, and I do want to give a shout out to Mike Sachs, whose t-shirt I bought today and whom I think we might have a fan on the line today who can give him a plug as well. This is our local leaders and rising stars series because there is a lot more at stake in every election than just what happens in Congress. Although that's incredibly important, we have folks across the district who are trying to make everyone's lives better, and we've spoken with a number of them so far. We're going to talk to two more today and two more next week, and then stay tuned because there's more exciting stuff up ahead. Before we talk with Tom, though, I actually want to bring a dear friend who I met over a year ago and who just continues to impress me with her. I don't, it just like she's just has so much energy at every time of day. I don't quite understand how, but Francesca Haggados, who was born in the United States but moved to Mexico City with her family, where she lived for 6 years growing up. She attended the French school in Mexico City, growing up fluent in French, Spanish, and English. And upon moving back to the United States, her family settled in Bedford Hills, New York. Francesca received her bachelor's in foreign languages and linguistics and a master's in Russian area studies from Georgetown University, Go Hoyas. and her teacher certification from the University of North Carolina at Chapel Hill. She returned to Westchester to teach French and Spanish for 32 years in the Chappaqua school districts. And upon her retirement, and you could have fooled me that she's retired, she continues to perform long-term leave replacements for French and Spanish teachers throughout Westchester County, and she lives in Pleasantville, where she raised her two sons. On the political front, she's always been politically aware and an active Democrat. She participated in the campaign for Hillary Clinton, becoming one of the founding board members of Up to Us, a really influential local organization that has done a tremendous amount of great work. She became a district leader for the Mount Pleasant Democratic Committee in 2017 and continues to serve as the committee's vice chair. In 2018, she ran and won a special election as the first Democrat for the Mount Pleasant Town Board, and her most recent accomplishments was to initiate and have a referendum passed by 71% to move the Village of Pleasantville elections from one day in March to the general election in November. Another initiative to allow people to get out and vote. Francesca continues to support Democratic candidates. She's worked for Assembly member Chris Burdick, my Assembly member as well, and a great guy. She worked as his campaign manager, which won him 60% of the vote. Francesca has organized for Mondaire Jones for Congress, Joe Bonanno for Mount Pleasant Town Board, and he won, I want to point out, this last election, and presently for Mike Sachs for Congress. My dear friend, Francesca, how are you?
Hello, Kevin. Happy anniversary.
Yeah, I
And
know.
tell your wife I'm full of admiration. I can't imagine saying, okay, fine.
Yeah, she's incredible. She's incredible. She is so amazing. But you are also incredible, and I just don't. I think at any point in time you at least have three balls in the air, three circuses that you're running. But this is not new news for you. You have a long history, as we were talking about in the district. But before we kind of talk about your history, Mount Pleasant, could you talk a little bit about the town for other folks tuning in across the district about like what it's like, what it comprises?
Yes. Well, Mount Pleasant is very large. Okay. If you take the train going north, it starts in Valhalla and then it goes up through Hawthorne and it takes a little left. It goes to Pleasantville, takes a little left turn. Part of Chappaqua is in there. Um, and then it goes to Briarcliff Manor, Pecanico Hills, Sleepy Hollow, and Pleasantville and Sleepy Hollow are the two villages in the town of Mount Pleasant. So it is quite enormous. So I always say if you're at the Kensico Dam, you're in Mount Pleasant. If you're in Sleepy Hollow on the Riverwalk, you're in Mount Pleasant.
So you also have, I'm assuming, like a diversity of issues within
Yes.
that town.
Yes. Very different. It's very diverse. Very
Hmm.
diverse. We have 8 school districts in Mount Pleasant.
Wow,
Yeah.
that is pretty huge.
Yeah.
And you moved. When did you move to the area, and what drove you back to the area?
Well, I finished my training to be a teacher after I ran around the world for a couple of years. My parents were tearing their hair out. And, I lived in Switzerland and France, and I traveled to Russia because I'd majored in Russian, and it just, and so they said, okay, now let's, so I did my teacher certification credit and I applied to the Chappaqua schools. My parents lived 5 miles away from Chappaqua. And so I got hired, and I'll never forget that day. And I said, well, I'm coming home. And I moved back to the Westchester area and have made this my home again as an adult ever since. And my two boys, one is 33, the other one is 27.
Oh
Um,
my goodness.
yes, we're lived here their whole lives in the same house. So
Hmm.
it, yeah, they, and so this Mount Pleasant is my home.
Yeah.
And I did live in Bedford Hills while my parents were, when my parents first moved there. My dad was an ophthalmologist. He opened his practice there. And we have sold the house, but
Yeah.
I hope they vote for in the primary because I know who they are who bought the house.
And you've always, I mean, just as a teacher, I think that's an occupation of service, and you've like I think you've kind of that has seems to have translated also into your civic life, and you've always been seems to be like have a long-term service record in the Democratic Party. Can you tell me a little bit about your journey as a Democrat? What made you become a Democrat? And
I was always a Democrat. I registered as a
mhm.
Democrat when I was 18 years old.
Why?
Because that is the democratic values are what I believe in, um, choice, pro-choice.
Hmm.
I go back to when it became pro-choice. By the
Yeah.
way, I'm not going to tell you how old I am, but I have to tell you that
Yeah.
pro-choice came about around then, and diversity and helping people vote and make
Hmm.
sure that they understand that there is kindness in the Democratic Party, that we are there to make sure people get what they need
Hmm.
to be successful and independent. And that has always impressed me about the Democratic Party. And I've actually convinced even my college roommate, who was not a Democrat. I don't know what she is now, but she texted me during the Democratic convention to say, "I get it, I get it." So, you know,
And now, like after your kind of life so far of service, you've really taken a passion to supporting others' success as they
yes,
run to serve
that
as
that is
representatives.
that is what I do now. That is what I
Hmm.
do now. I support Democratic candidates. I did my running for election, and
Hmm.
I know how it works. And I
Hmm.
actually took a course on how to campaign,
Hmm.
and through Eleanor's Legacy, and also through the New York State Dems. They sponsored a course as well.
So
And yeah,
before we talk about Tom, we can't not talk about Mike. Do you
okay.
want to give like a minute plug for Mike?
Well, yeah. Right now he is with one of his sons who was just in a play, so he's not watching right now, but I'm
Mhm.
sure he'll watch the recording. But that is one of the things about Mike, that his children come first, and but I can tell you that his deep knowledge of history and how and
Mhm.
law on how we got into this mess
Mhm.
and how to get us out. And the way he phrases things and the passion with which he speaks. He is younger than my first group of students, but
Mhm.
yet he has the maturity. I won't say of someone twice
Yeah.
his age, but he has that maturity. And also, a little known fact: he won an Emmy for his broadcasting.
Oh,
Yes.
yeah.
So when I first heard him speak, I said, "This is the guy that can run. This is
Yeah.
the guy that can really do it and take on Mike Lawler." And that's why I said that. And
Yeah.
we all differ. We have our
We
own
do.
reasons for supporting, and I
Mhm.
hope we're all friends on
Yeah.
June 24th.
Yeah.
But we're getting down to the wire, and so I decided to support him and offer my expertise
Yeah.
in campaigning, as a volunteer. By the way, I
Yeah.
am a volunteer,
Yeah. So
because
there are five candidates for the Democratic congressional race. You have Beth Davidson, Mike Sachs, Kate Conley, Effie Phillips Daly, John Capello. We encourage everyone to really get to know the candidates and their issues. Pick a candidate that you would like to vote for. Get out and vote in the primary,
yes,
and then afterwards we're going to regroup and we're going to get this
yep,
done.
yep.
But there are many issues facing Mount Pleasant right now. Like, can you talk to me a little bit about some of those issues and why Tom might be like specially equipped to
Well,
tackle them?
first of all, Tom has a. I met him as my assembly member,
Hmm.
and I knew he was my assembly member before I met him. But when I got involved with the Mount Pleasant Democratic Committee, of course, he spoke every single meeting as our assembly member, and brought us up to date as to what's going on in the New York State Assembly. And so then when I decided to run for office, well, no, I have to go back there. The reason I decided to run for office was because of Tom. I was holding a petition party. When you come to someone's house and eat and drink and sign petitions, and make sure you're not signing someone's petition that you've already signed,
Yeah,
all those things. And he came bounding up my steps.
the
Um,
Rager.
and came in. And the first thing he said that there was an opening on the Mount Pleasant Town Board, and we need someone to run for it. And I looked at my family standing there, and I said, "Well, I guess I'm running."
Hmm.
And he supported me all the way. So that is my beginning of my history with Tom. But the issues in Mount Pleasant are very complex
Hmm.
because of the two villages and in there, and also the hamlets consider themselves apart. The hamlets of Thornwood, Hawthorne, and Valhalla have traditionally considered themselves apart. They are becoming more flexible about that,
Hmm.
that they are part of the town. And I think hamlets, have a hard time because they want to identify with
Hmm.
something. And
They want
so
to have a sense of place too.
right,
Hmm.
right. And the villages are different. I live in Pleasantville. That's it. It's a
Hmm.
village. So so that is one of the issues in Mount Pleasant, that there's this fracturing sometimes of where do you live?
Hmm.
I live in Mount Pleasant, but I live in the hamlet of this or that.
Hmm.
So it's been very hard to bring us all together, whatever party. It's been very hard for, but
Yeah.
the Sleepy Hollow group has founded their Sleepy Hollow
Yeah.
Democrats, which is fantastic. And stay tuned for
So
Pleasantville.
yeah. So why do you think Tom is uniquely equipped to take the reins of the town right now?
Well, first of all, starting at the state level, he has unique knowledge of
Hmm.
how everything works. He served in the assembly for so many years that he knows the ins and outs of how each town is affected by New York State, and he really is uniquely positioned for this. He also has a deep knowledge of the law, which is really good, and ethics and oversight. And but what Tom and I have in common, he has a child with a disability, and so do I.
Hmm.
And he has been a staunch advocate for people with disabilities. And we have a school here, a special act school called
Hmm.
well, it's part of the JCCA, the Cottage School, and it's something that needs toning down as far as he will bring a a vision of how the Cottage School is a positive source
Hmm.
of hope for so many children. And I've worked with children my whole life. It's
Yeah.
given me the ability to read the room, by the way.
Yeah.
I stand up there and I go, I know exactly what's going on. So, but
Yeah.
and I'm also on the Westchester County Commission for children for people with disabilities. George Latimer appointed me to that. So I really do admire that in Tom.
Hmm.
His advocacy is incredible. I've learned so much. I have been able to ensure that my own child continues to reach as much independence as he can because of the resources that I've learned from Tom.
So what question do you want me to ask Tom when he comes on up?
Well, I want him to say how he sees himself as the supervisor, how
Hmm.
he's going to um, address the issues that are facing Mount Pleasant, our enormosity, is that a word? And our variety, our diversity, and how we fit in as a group. Because that has always been my goal. When I was on the town board, I wanted to um, ensure that we were seen as one town and how we could bring each other together. And it's something that I'm sure he can continue along with Joe Bonanno on the town board and the other council people. I've always gotten along with the board members, and you know, uh, I'm very fond of them, actually. And when I
Hmm.
see them, I always show them as much fondness that I can, because we are human beings and we're here for the best. We may think politically a little differently, but
Mhm.
on the town level, we should be thinking about the town.
I want to ask you also about Joe while we're waiting for our guest.
My
But
brother,
I
another
I
mother, yeah.
I do wanna call out a special celebrity shout out from the chat that Mr. Peter Chatsky notes
Yes,
there are
10%. Thank you, Peter.
three
10%.
villages. Yeah.
Yes, yes.
And Briarcliff also has some really wonderful restaurants for folks tuning in. If you haven't headed over to Briarcliff Manor, like tremendous little village in
I did a leave
downtown.
replacement
Hmm.
at Briarcliff Middle School, so
Yep.
it's one of my favorite schools. So
Yeah. And but speaking of Joe Bonanno, here he is tuning in. How do you think Joe is doing in
I think
office?
that he figured it out fast. He hit the ground running, and he understood how to build coalitions and friendships and work together. And he is understanding now how much work it is to be
Yeah.
on the town board,
Hmm.
and he's really. I knew he would. I knew he would. He's always been incredibly dynamic, and we ran together also a couple times, when I
Hmm.
ran for reelection, and I've always been full of admiration on how he conducts himself and how warm he is and how quickly one of the things that when there's an issue is define the problem,
Yeah.
and he's very quick to define a problem, and then he comes up with possible solutions very quickly and thinks on his feet. So I think that being on the town board is going to be tremendous for Mount Pleasant.
Yeah. So just speaking of, I'm actually gonna channeling Joe right now, like
Yeah.
thinking on my feet, because in a full transparency world, we lost Tom. we, he
Where is he?
dropped out. He dropped out of the
Where is he?
waiting
I'll text him. What happened? Okay.
but but that's okay. Here he comes. He's coming
Okay.
back.
He's
There
coming.
is always hope. As we channel our inner Joe Bonanos and flex with the situation, we find hope and we get there.
Every time we meet on Zoom as a Mount Pleasant Democratic Committee because we're so big. It's very hard to drive from one place to another. And I've done Zoom clinics many, many times beforehand. And you're muted, and you forgot to and it's part of what
You know what?
we never realized we were going to be able to do this. And now
I don't
here we
care.
are. Look at where we
It's
are.
look at where we are. but
Yeah, we
but you
watch
know,
board meetings on Zoom. We participate in board meetings on Zoom. We see each other on. It's a tremendous, and Facebook Live is a tremendous way of connecting. Facebook to me is a tremendous way of connecting. However, we're kind of um, building. Some of
yeah,
those pages are a little bubbles,
yeah,
and I find when I'm canvassing, people don't even know there's a primary. I mean,
yeah.
I, so
And we're getting out there. We're getting out there. And
yes.
so Francesca, we have Tom back. And so
Yay.
we're gonna grab him and we're gonna
Okay,
pull him
grab
up
him and don't
and
let him
we're gonna
leave.
talk
Hold on to him.
and I feel the same sentiment about you. We are so lucky to have you in the
Thank you
Democratic
so much,
Party. Thank
Kevin.
you for all that you do.
Thank you, Kevin.
Okay. Goodbye.
Bye.
So that's Francesca. And now, my friends, we are gonna bring up Tom. And Tom, can you hear me? Can you hear me? Oh, hold on, hold on. We're gonna unmute you. Okay, say something.
Hello, how are you? Can you hear me now?
You are. I can hear
Hello?
you now. You're coming. Hello. Are you, can you hear me?
You heard from Francesca how we've become so dependent on the internet. Sometimes when it fails, everything gets shut down. We had some
Hmm.
difficulty earlier this evening with my laptop, my desktop computer, and now
Yeah.
I'm having difficulty with the Wi-Fi coming into the building. So we
Well,
are
there you
dependent
go.
on these big.
We are, and it's nice to hear you, but I'm hearing a little bit of like robot you. So if I am. Would you mind picking up your phone?
I could do that.
Let's see if we can do this.
Walk
Okay.
around the room like you do.
Yeah. Yeah.
Is-
Okay. Tom, can you say something?
Okay, I am Tom Abinanti, former New York State Assemblyman. I live in Mount Pleasant. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. It's nice to hear you, and you have a long history of public service. So I'm going to cut to the quick here. Why are you running for town supervisor?
Um, I let me just say that I am a resident of Mount Pleasant. I live here.
Yes.
I moved here because my son was in the Mount Pleasant School District, and I was living in Greenburgh. I got elected to the assembly, and we said, you know, this is an hour trip for him. It's only 15 minutes away, but a school bus, it's an hour. And we should move to the community where he is going to school. And that was the best thing that we could do for him. It worked out very well for him. And I got introduced to a part of my district, the assembly district, that I really wasn't that familiar with. I knew a lot more about Greenburgh. I'd lived in Greenburgh for a long time, become really part of the community. So when I moved to Mount Pleasant, I found what a nice place it is. But I also saw how the government, the town government, had lost touch with the people in the community. The town was being run by the supervisor. It seems just like when he went on the town board in 1989. They were not in the modern world. They lost touch with the people in the community in all political parties. And they were not listening to the people in the community. You know, it sounds like a cliche, but it's true. It's time for a change in Mount Pleasant. And I have the experience. I have the energy, even though I'm older than my opponent. I have the energy and I have the vision that I think is necessary at this time. So I think I can take a government that has been set up and run by Republicans forever. There has never been a Democrat elected Mount Pleasant supervisor. But I think I have the experience and the energy and the vision to work with the people in town hall and kind of reposition, redirect things to deal with modern problems and to deal with the things that people are dealing with today. You know, and my message is very simple. ABC, affordable, better community.
Okay.
Affordable, better community. And
Okay.
I can explain one. Affordable, you know, we need a community our residents can afford. Everything is too damn expensive. And the Republican supervisor just raised town taxes um, dramatically. In Sleepy Hollow, Phil, and the Briarcliff section, the town tax went up 50%. 50%. It's a small part of their tax, but still to raise taxes 50%. In the rest of the town, which is where most of the responsibility for the is with the town board and the supervisor, they raise taxes 15%, and they raise the refuse tax 9%. That's a lot of money in 1 year. What are you doing? I'll tell you what happened. They wasted a lot of money, and we can get into it later. They wasted a lot of money on cultural-driven lawsuits. But that's the first part. So we've got to do something about the finances of the town. The town lost its credit rating. Credit rating was downgraded twice in the past years.
Oh, wow.
And
That's
so,
no good. Luckily, interest rates are going down.
We've got to yes, we've got to stabilize the financial situation in town. And then secondly, when I say better, there are better ways to do things. You know, I mean, supervisor is presiding over unbridled development, which has exacerbated flooding and traffic congestion. We need to work to bring more affordable childcare into our community. We have a lot of young families moving into the future of Mount Pleasant, and we bring some care for them. And we need programs for seniors, so seniors can enjoy staying in the community. And it's starting to become apparent as we look more carefully that the town government itself has been repurposed for partisan advantage. The supervisor, for example, resisted one of the conservatives who wanted to get access to the town email list. And they went to court, all the way to the Court of Appeals, and finally won there, via court decisions, that they said, well, we're only using this for public information purposes. Well, today I got an email from the supervisor from that list where he's expressing his political philosophy and how he's opposing the governor as she's dealing with, the whole issue of whether local governments should be enforcing federal immigration laws. So he is now espousing his philosophy and using town resources for that purpose. Plus, there have been many other examples. There's no ethics board, et cetera, et cetera. We could do things better. And lastly, I think we have to bring everyone together. The supervisor thrives on divisiveness. He spent millions of dollars on unwinnable culture war lawsuits. And now he's talking about, as I just said, law and order and attacking the new state policies on local enforcement of federal immigration laws. You know, it's ironic that he just increased taxes and at the same time rejected Mount Pleasant's chief's request for additional police officers, but he wants to spend local tax monies to pay local police to do federal law enforcement. So this is what we're dealing with here in Mount Pleasant. I could talk a lot more about my philosophy. I was a Democratic assemblyman. I'm pro-choice. I'm pro-environment. Mm-hmm. I passed some measures to reduce gun violence. But those are not the things that people right now are talking about in Mount Pleasant. Yeah. What they want is a government that responds to them. And I will tell you, when I was in the Greenberg board, we had full staff that Mount Pleasant still doesn't have. We had planners. We had people. We had a town attorney's office. All kinds of things that you really need in a modern government. And we've got to find a way to do it without increasing taxes. So in short, that's why I'm running for supervisor.
In short, Tom, that was a stem winder. But I mean, well, so to boil it down, I think you want to doge the current supervisor because the funds of the town should go to benefit the town residents, and where we have our priorities out of whack right now. But there you go. But I also want, we have so many folks listening in. We can't not talk about the need to make sure that we are creating also inclusive communities, particularly for individuals with disabilities. What if you were a supervisor on that part of your agenda? What would be your priorities? What would you want to make sure that the town is doing?
Let me start with, I was brought up with a consciousness for fairness. And I saw long ago, before I was the father of a child with a disability, that people with disabilities were not being treated fairly. All they want is what all of us want. They want a nice place to live. They want a job or some other meaningful role in the community. And they want fair and dignified treatment, access to health care, make sure that their community, they live in a safe community, that they have financial security. That's what we all want. And that's what I want to bring to the town of Mount Pleasant. And I've learned so much about people by dealing with people with disabilities. Mm-hmm. When you advocate for people with disabilities, it comes down to the basics. It comes down to housing, a good place to live, a job and a meaningful role in the community, and to be treated dignified, in a dignified fashion. That's what we all want. And the current supervisor has over again attacked programs for people with disabilities. He's used people with disabilities as a rallying point for his base. He's played to their unwarranted fears. Every time was a proposed group home in Mount Pleasant, he brought what is an unwinnable lawsuit and wasted tons of money, but was telling the community that, yes, you should be afraid of people with disabilities. We even had a situation where one of the local teachers whose daughter lived with her in the community was going to move into a group home. right in the same neighborhood where she was living. And the supervisor brought a lawsuit to try to stop it. And of course he lost and wasted the taxpayers' money, but made, brought hard feelings, separated the community for no reason at all. Here was a family that was part of the community. The mother's a teacher in the schools. The kids, everybody's her as a teacher. And yet they were opposing her daughter living in a group home down the street. That's what we're dealing with here. It's very short-sighted. It's not in the modern world. And I think we have to recognize that people with disabilities have talents. Yeah, this picture over here, I don't know if you can see that.
It's beautiful.
I received that. I was the chair of the Committee on People with Disabilities in Albany. And this came from ARC, and it was created by one of their residents in one of their group homes. So people with disabilities have talents. They just challenges than everyone else. And I think we have to recognize that. We should be having internships for all young people in the town, bring them into town hall, let them see what government is like, and with disabilities as well. Don't exclude them when you have an internship program. They want to work, they have skills. And so some of them may have behaviors which scares people that shouldn't be scared, because then they're fine people. They just have certain behavior. We all have certain quirks, let's face it. And as we get older,
Fact.
we all look forward to having disabilities, right? Some form of disability. Yes, mine is I talk too much, right?
I don't know about that, because I like what you're talking about. Tom, how can people get involved in your campaign as you're getting going here?
All right, we are running a grassroots campaign. We are not, we don't have the big money of the Republican Party. You were talking before about was Francesca a Democrat? I remember many years ago, the then Attorney General Robert Abrams from the Bronx, who was a kid from the Bronx, said, I'm not rich enough to be a Republican. And I think that still holds true. There are a lot of people who want to be Republicans because that's their aspiration. But they don't realize that the people in charge of the Republican Party are doing things that prevent them from gaining wealth. The Democratic Party, on the other hand, stands for fairness. As Francesca put it so well, we're the party that is trying to make it possible for everyone to succeed. So we have a grassroots campaign. The website is abinanti.com, ABINANTI.com.
It's on the screen, guys.
You need on how to reach us is say it again.
Oh yeah, we put it on the screen. So if people are tuning in live or on recording, they should go to your website, check it out. There's some great information about your positions and how to get involved.
And my phone number. I'll give everybody my phone number. 914.
Don't give everybody your phone number. No.
That phone number is
blah, blah, blah.
I put it on my campaign literature. It's my office phone number. It's everywhere. It's out there, 328-9000. I don't put it on the top of my car like the supervisor in Greenberg does, Paul Feiner. But anybody to reach me, I answer phone calls myself. And, that's important because you want to hear what people have to say and how they say it. It's not just the issue they raise, but it's the passion, it's the understanding. And when you listen to people in the community, very often the people in the community have answers to the very problems they're complaining about. All government has to do is hear them. And together you can work out the answers to the problems. So Tom, please get involved in the campaign, folks. I know he's looking at the primary at the moment, but starting on June 24th, we are going to make a big push. And we're going to explain to people in this community that they are part of several different parts of the community. They may be part of Valhalla or Thornwood or Hawthorne, which are postal addresses. They call them hamlets. They may have their own government if they're in Pleasantville or Sleepy Hollow or Briarcliff, but they're all part of the town of Mount Pleasant, just like they're all part of the county of Westchester and the state of New York and the United States. It's another level of government that is there to provide service. And just because it hasn't provided service to you in the past doesn't mean we can't turn it around and make it work for the
Yeah.
people who live in the community.
Tom, thank you so much for coming on and even like trudging through technical difficulties to be on camera. I so appreciate you.
Well, I thank you for giving me the opportunity to speak with you and with your audience. It is, it's important that we inspire people to get involved. There's a sense well, why bother? It doesn't matter. Well, it does matter. Just look at what's
It
going
does matter.
on in Washington. We have a man who knows what government's about. But government at the local level can respond if people just get involved. So
Tom,
Abinanti.com. Come join us.
there you go. Good to see you.
Thank you.
So that's Tom Abinanti. It's been, I don't know where he gets his energy. I don't know where Francesca get their energy. Whatever is in the water in the town of Mount Pleasant, I think that's what I need to import. Because goodness, I love our party. I love our energy and big ideas and our scrappiness because that's sometimes what we need. Tom Abinanti, like he's running for the supervisor position in the town of Mount Pleasant, looking to improve quality of life, make sure government is working more efficiently and working to address the needs of the people and not getting caught up in all of this federal nonsense, and make sure that the community is inclusive for every resident, regardless of who they are and what their individual needs might be. Really an inspiration. And my goodness, like even without his computer working, he was able to find a way. And that's how we're going to do it. I love our party. I so appreciate all of you. And we have one more interview left in this Local Leaders and Rising Stars series where we're going to chat with Samantha Banerjee on the preventing the crisis of stillbirth. We'll have a fun intro guest to kick us off. It's been so wonderful to get to talk through this series with you and all of its challenges and curveballs. Samantha is up next, and she is a powerhouse in her own right. So for me, it's been a day. I'm gonna go have a beer, but it's so wonderful to see all of you. And with that, I'm gonna do some outro music, and I'll see you guys later.